And as you mentioned earlier, the coming ice age, 1975, Science News said the ice age cometh. That was a big push. We are headed into an ice age. Well, that didn't work out well for them. So they moved from global cooling to global warming. Yes. But the evidence didn't pan out so much there, so they went from global warming to climate change. By going to climate change, now anytime there's a change, they immediately say the change is bad and we're causing it. So it doesn't matter what happened. They're covering themselves with that, which is pretty clever.
It doesn't have to just be warmer now. It can be colder, and you can still say it's climate change.
It could be any. And as I mentioned before, if it doesn't change at all, they'll say, well, that's not normal. It's always changed, and now it's not changing. So they got themselves covered, whichever direction we go. Next segment here, this comes from PragerU. They did such a great job of summarizing this. I've taken some of their talking points here to talk about climate change because it's very, very powerful, be helpful for the viewers. This is Richard Lindzen. He's an MIT atmospheric physicist. He's one of the world's leading climatologists. Does that mean he's right about everything he says? No, but I think he deserves to be heard because of his expertise.
He's definitely not anti-science, right?
No, not at all. Very much strong science background. And he said, when you're talking about climate change, there are three groups of people that we're dealing with. The first two groups are made up of scientists. The third group are made up of politicians, environmentalists, and the media. Now, group number one, this consists of the International Panel on Climate Change. These smaller group of scientists, they mostly believe that the recent warming is due to man's burning of fossil fuels, oil, coal, and natural gas. That's what they believe. Group number two, the larger number of scientists, they call these the skeptics. They're just questioning some of this. They're also derogatorily called climate deniers. They don't deny climate, but they believe there are many reasons that the climate changes. You know, solar flares, clouds, oceans, orbital variations, many, many factors, and none of these factors are truly understood, and there's no evidence that CO2 emissions are the dominant factor.
Did I hear you right? The second group is larger? Because from the media, I would think this second group is only a few fringe fanatics, you know, in some uneducated part of, you know, a destitute nation.
No, it'd be the majority of scientists. The panel is a small group. This is a much, much larger group. And here's the interesting thing. These are 5 points of agreement between both of these groups. They both all agree that the climate has always been changing. It's just a no-brainer. Number two, CO2 is a greenhouse gas that's necessary for life, and adding more would lead to some warming. Number three, atmospheric CO2 has been increasing since the end of the Little Ice Age, and no one wants to live when it's colder, so warming up actually was good. Number four, over the past 200 years, the Earth's temperature has increased slightly and erratically, about 1 degree Celsius. And it's only been since the 1960s that man's activities have been sufficient enough to play a role. Number five, no confident prediction of future global average temperature or its impact can be made, even according to the scientists on this panel who are concerned about climate change, saying you can't make a confident prediction because of all these variables.
So those computer models the media is always talking about that, you know, we're going to run out of food, or we're going to or decrease the amount of sunlight by half and all that stuff, some of the stuff that you said, the scientists are saying you actually can't do that. Even the ones who believe, the believers, they're saying you can't do that.
We can't know those things for sure. Too many variables. And then this is the shocker, point of agreement between these two groups. Nobody in either of these groups believes that, is making the claim that the burning of fossil fuels leads to catastrophe. So where's the alarmism coming from? It comes from group number three, the politicians, environmentalists, and the media. Well, politicians are driven by money and power. Environmentalists are driven by money for their organizations and confirmation of their religious-like beliefs that man is an evil disease, destroying the planet. Yeah. The media is driven by ideology, money, and headlines. So that's where we're getting all the alarmism. Climate change is climate change. Climate has always been changing. We can't say that it's too drastic, and we can't say that we're the primary cause of this.